Corporate teams often spend months crafting meticulous strategic plans, but then they let those plans run on autopilot, waiting until the end-of-year financial reports to see if they actually worked. That is the equivalent of memorizing a map, blindfolding yourself, and pressing the gas pedal. This diagram shows why you need a real-time system instead. On the left, a GPS detects when you veer off course and instantly recalculates a new path. On the right, relying on a static map means you don't know you are off track until you've already driven off the cliff. Today, we are going to build a complete strategy review and control system. We will put strict mechanisms in place to catch failures right now, instead of reading about them in next quarter's report. To start, I want you to clearly pick one active, measurable business goal your team is working on right now, something tied to specific KPIs. Keep that goal in mind. Because without the control system we are about to build, that specific target is at risk of quietly failing behind the scenes. Step 1 is eliminating the time lag. Look at the primary metric for the goal you just picked. If you are currently checking that metric on a monthly basis, you need to shift it to a daily or even hourly format. Let's look at a factory called Siam Office Fern. Their objective was to reduce production costs by 15%. Here is the problem with their old process. The factory manager required floor supervisors to log material defects on paper. Those logs were compiled into a spreadsheet at the end of the month. By the time the manager saw that 200 sheets of wood were ruined, the material was already in the dumpster. To fix this, they replaced the paper logs with a smart dashboard on the shop floor. Now, if a machine starts cutting wood incorrectly, the live graph turns red and an alert sounds immediately. You need a similar mechanism for your goal. Whether it is a digital dashboard on your monitor or a physical whiteboard in the office, your key metric must be visible to your team every single day. Closing that time gap is the foundation of strategic control. It takes months of wasted budget and shrinks it down to a few actionable minutes, giving you the chance to stop the bleeding while the patient is still on the table. Step 2 is putting that visible data to work. Every morning, gather your team around your new dashboard for exactly 15 minutes. This diagram outlines your daily stand-up. To keep the meeting focused, you are going to restrict the conversation to these 3 specific questions. First, did we hit yesterday's target? This requires a simple yes or no. No excuses, just the facts. Second, what are the obstacles? If the answer is no, the team needs to identify the exact roadblock causing the delay. And third, how will we fix them today? You want an immediate, same-day solution to bypass that roadblock. The quickest way to ruin this routine is letting managers spend the time reading off historical sales reports or giving broad departmental updates. To prevent that, enforce the 20-80 rule shown in this chart. Spend a maximum of 20% of your time reporting past numbers and use the remaining 80% strictly to solve problems for tomorrow. When you check your strategy using this hyper-focused format, you handle minor deviations immediately. They never get the chance to compound into unrecoverable quarterly losses. Step 3 is planning your exit strategy. Right now, while you are clear-headed and unemotional, write down the exact numeric threshold that will force you to kill or pivot your project. This text block is what a trigger point contract looks like. If new product sales are under 1 million baht, we cancel the project. Without a rule like this in place, leaders often fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. They feel bad about the money and effort already spent, so they paralyze themselves, dumping more resources into a failing plan, hoping it will eventually turn around. Returning to our factory example, because the CEO set a hard trigger point regarding defect rates, they didn't wait until the end of the quarter. On day 3, they authorized emergency funds to replace a dull machine blade. Establishing predefined trigger points removes ego from the equation. It gives your leadership team the pre-approved courage to hit the brakes and pivot before a minor setback becomes a full-blown crisis. But here is the catch. We have just built a robust technical feedback loop, and it is completely useless if the human behavior supporting it is broken. If your frontline workers are afraid of getting yelled at for missing a target, they will not enter the real numbers into your shiny new dashboard. They will manipulate the data to hide the failures. Leaders have to actively change how they react to bad news. When an employee hits the stop button and triggers the alarm, your first response must be to thank them for catching it early. Psychological safety functions as a piece of functional business infrastructure. If your team doesn't trust the environment, they won't feed the system the truth, making that trust an absolute operational requirement for accurate reporting. Accurate, real-time data requires a culture where highlighting a red metric is treated as saving the company. Once you build that trust, your workforce becomes the ultimate early warning system. Let's review what you've just built: a highly visible daily metric, a 15-minute problem-solving routine, and hard trigger points to guide your decisions. You are no longer waiting for the year-end spreadsheet to tell you if you succeeded. You are actively managing your strategy from the driver's seat. If a piece of machinery breaks or a marketing campaign underperforms today, you will know about it within 24 hours, and your team will already be working on a concrete plan to fix it. Long-term business survival does not come from writing a flawless plan on day one. It comes from having the fastest possible reaction time when that plan inevitably encounters reality. But how does a C-level executive monitor all of these different feedback loops across an entire company without drowning in hundreds of Excel tabs? In our next video, we will design the C-level strategy metrics dashboard to help you cut through the noise. Subscribe so you don't miss it.